It's called Fresnel. It's a French word. It's named after the guy who invented the lens on the front of it. See this stepped lens? Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
That's a Fresnel lens, hence the name for this. It works very simply. This is quite a posh version. It's French, and the bulb and the reflector in there, and they move away from the lens. And as it moves away from the lens, it gets smaller. And as it moves, so it goes right down to a tight spot all the way back, and full flood all the way forward. I particularly want to show you, because we're going to be talking about this later. This is this bulb is tungsten halogen, and the filament in it, see the grid filament, is made of tungsten, and there's halogen gas in it to prevent the tungsten from essentially rusting or oxidating. It works by the electricity passes through the filament, and the filament resists and gives out light and heat. Therefore, it's said to be incandescent. So it's an incandescent source, tungsten source. And this big debate now is happening because it's banned as of 2020 by the EU. So we're looking at how to do it, how to replace these with LEDs. We'll look briefly at an LED later. Maybe we'll have to bring one over.
Yeah.
So can we get one of these working now, just to see it?
Yeah.
Just what it says on the tin.
He has that on an iPad. I would just plug it in.
Can you put it in context as well, Conleth?
Yeah.
So what you would use it for?
Yes, I'm going to do that now.
Shut up.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
So if you have a look, actually, this is a bad example. This is all in the front of the house. These are normally, you can see up there, there's a load of them up there. They're actually used very close to the stage. They're not good far away from the stage because the light from them, when we get it working, is quite diffuse.
You don't have your own AJ.
Not with me, no.
Even if you turned on one of the front of the lights.
There, I can turn that and I'll turn the front of the house off. Yeah.
You can see it spotting down there. Now, this is a beam shaping device, which is quite simple on this. It's called a barn door, and it closes like that, and two small doors which close like that. So you can sort of do a rough shape. You can see the beam is quite soft edge, it's diffuse, which is why it can't really be used out there. That close to the stage is okay. Okay. It's a pan. This one without a spanner isn't going to pan, but it's locked into position. No, it's already okay. And the tilt locks into a position. So essentially used on stage as a general spotlight.
You can use this one, the profile as well, or you can use this one.
In the vast majority of theatres, like especially in big rigs and stuff like that, they used to create for other theatre shows, primarily used a lot of the time for simpler shows as washes. A lot of the time.
Sorry.
This is a profile. It's considerably more expensive. It's a lot more goes into it. The big difference from functioning is, as opposed to the bulb and reflector moving inside and a fixed lens, this has a fixed bulb and reflector, which I'm not going to bother showing you, and the lens, or in this case, two lenses move and make it bigger and smaller. But you can see that you can see the degree of control you have over the light from the shutters there. Can anyone see that?
Stick up on the wall there.
Yeah, on the side, go on.
Up here.
Yeah.
Hard edge there on the shutters. Can I take these out?
Yeah.
You can see the sort of spread. And lenses close together, make it wider. Far apart, make it smaller. And the beam shaping device is a shutter. So this is what we use for what we call a special. So you want to spot down on one person or one thing. and then you make that softer or harder as need be.
There's gobo holders there, but
Do
yeah.
you want to see a gobo? Or do you want to stick one up? A
yeah.
gobo, you will hear, and you'll ask me where the word gobo comes from, and I won't be able to tell you, and no one can tell you. It's a pattern which you can put in it. It's essentially a projector, big bright projector, and you can actually put glass slides into it and project them, as you'll often see done on corporate shows. You see the corporate image projected.
The ones you'll see most of the time are breakups, that sort of leafy breakup, and windows. The light coming, replicating the light from a window on stage by sticking a gobo in, running from the back bar down stage or whatever, you know, just to dress it up a little bit.
So the general rule, this is, because of the degree of control over the light, this is used in the front of house, up there. And you get two versions, a wide one, these are wide ones, and a narrow one which you can use further away, and a narrow one which you can use even further away. There's usually three or two in Ireland would be the standard. You get ones out there and these ones on stage or on that position. That's kind of, I'm not going to go into great detail about it. That's the basic workings of it. Any questions so far?
Can I just say, there's no, it's worth noting, obviously, and you can see it, that anything out of a standard fixed rig or a gig rig, you can see it takes a person to go up on a telescope or another height access equipment. Everything is adjusted individually by a human. For the vast majority of gig rig, the vast majority of this rig, the vast majority of any rig that you go into in any venue, it all has to be adjusted by a human person.
So like somewhere like here, obviously the whole seating bank will have to come back to,
Well, that's,
to access that.
Definitely, yeah. The front of house is flies in, but actually we get it from a
Scope.
from a
Scope will run along there.
not the telescope. Yeah, sorry, the Zarges, the ladder, Yeah. So the ladder will go up, but you can see it's quite high. But we can just tuck the ladder inside the front row. But anything, so and lucky again, there's two motors on it. So for rigging, we actually bring the whole bar in, rig it, and then the ladder is the only real. Eamon again, luckily has invested in the genie here. So I haven't climbed the scope. I've only climbed the scope twice really since I've been here in 2 years now. So the genie is an elevated.
Very explained scope.
The telescope is, we'll see it, but at the back there, it's a fixed vertical ladder on wheels with outriggers that can be moved into any position, and actually will go up to 8 metres if necessary. This one.
There's a lot of health and safety issues about it at the moment, though.
Yeah, we're looking at 3 people to operate it at any one time, plus then yourselves to kind of tell them where they want to put the lights or focus the lights. But we also then have a genie, which is an electric elevated, platform, which can be moved manually. But it means that when we can bring it into smaller spaces, and that rather than climbing the ladder, we're actually on a very comfortable, large working space, rather than climbing inside a crow's nest box and then working from a small box like this, which we can't change the height of. So if you're going under a rig, all the rig has to be a minimum 7 metres. Our rig at the moment now has come down to kind of 6 metres because it's only a 4.5 metre genie and on 2 metres. So that works now. But obviously then we've had the Corn Exchange in, where they were teching a show that was going to go into the Gaiety, where everything was 8 metres and everything had to fly out to 8 metres and everything had to be rigged off the telescope. So we used the telescope.
I just wanted to talk about this briefly. This is something I regard as a false economy when coming to designing the building. If you're ever in a position that you have to design a building and you see this being suggested, say no immediately, because most theatres have galleries out here. There'll be a gallery, there'll be one bar there on a fixed gallery with a bridge. You'll be able to walk up and just turn the lights like that,
yeah,
and considerably safer. And then there'll be another one there and another one further out.
Access Ballymun has
And
two.
the only theatre in Dublin, essentially, that apart from the Grand Canal, is the Axis. Ballymun has these, and the architect there put them in himself. He actually thought about it, looked at the building, the shape of the building. He actually left room to put even this in if they ever have the money. So probably the best designed theatre in Dublin on this scale.
Yeah, and you can see where Eamon's last year has added the bars there, the fixed bars there, and then this year, and so,
You're gonna have to get a ladder
incrementally
into
he's
them.
developing the venue. We've got kind of motor points beyond, so we can hang a second truss if we hire it in. And then this year he's going to put another bar just by the window to the box, because often with doing a lot of television, you'd have key light from behind, so we'd be always putting up 2 booms and a goalpost. So rather than us constantly rigging that, next 2 weeks we're going to put a bar there where the camera is. So he's kind of doing it backwards, what do you call it? Reverse engineering the venue.
It's quite common.
Quite common. Yeah, everyone's done it. Everyone is doing it.
Can we hammer through the lamps there?
Yeah.
So I think it's just the LED, isn't it?
No.
Oh, you're going to do the park hand? All right.
This is the third sort of basic unit you'll see on stage, apart from what lights the cyclorama. You can see what this is used for. You can see the colour in it. It's used for colour, a lot of colour, or when you want really bright light. It's a very simple unit. It originates in the music industry long before there were moving lights. There's not much to it. Only thing you can do is move the beam around like that. And you change the size of the spot by changing the actual bulb inside. It's called a park hand. I won't explain that. So that's the one you see that's used the gig rig. Essentially a music industry. A load of them with a lot of colour in them. In the olden days, the flashing colours, it was these that did it. Even now,
In the olden days,
Like last week in the
And last night.
every night in the beginning,
Last night.
every single night.
Last night
I
here.
was gonna
So.
say, I do one panto in the Millennium Forum, and I will put about 100 of these up. But that's because they don't have. Well, we do get some
But
moving lights in too. But
In relation then to the tungsten conversation, that these are 1,000 watts each. Each bulb is 1,000 watts and costs in around €30, 25, 28, 30. And so, as Conleth says, if he's putting how many in?
100.
100. So you're using 100,000 watts then just to get a bit of colour on stage,
Well, no,
or
quite
a
bit.
design.
Well,
to
that's a
fruition.
moot point, but we'll get back to, we'll
But
go
you
into
know,
that later
depending
on. I
on
did some figures
That
on the
full,
tungsten
yeah,
thing,
you can
so,
tell me, yeah. But in theory,
In theory,
that's what they're kind of, and that's when we're talking about a venue then and power
Get the
consumption.
LED then to show the
The LED's there, ready?
Right.
Yeah.
You've heard up. So these are 1,000 watts, so they're consuming an awful lot of electricity. And this is this at max output will be about 150 to 200 watts. So you can see these cost more to buy, but you can see the running costs are the reason why you choose to use them a lot. They're also
the real
much
saving
more.
isn't just in the running cost. For a venue, the real saving is in man hours,
Rigging.
Yeah.
rigging, and in consumables.
Right, does that appear on the books though?
Uh,
I mean, you can see the change in the bill.
Yeah, you can see the change in the bill because you might not end up with
See,
your chief technician
But
owed
it's
4.5
a
months.
bit more of a hidden cost.
You know?
Well, no, it's a big part of the cost because like what.
No, I'm talking about, if you reduce your electricity bill by
Yeah,
using
but
these,
it
you can
doesn't
see the
actually-
immediate
no.
change.
No, you won't. It'll take, if you replace that power can with that, the payback time would be 505 weeks.
That's 2 years.
Yeah,
No, we-
no,
that's
it's
10
10 years.
Which meant the unit might be.
That's on electricity alone, isn't
That's
it? Yeah.
on electricity.
But
alone.
gels and bulbs, I mean, we're changing
Even
Gels
these
and bulbs and man
Yeah,
hours where you're
yeah,
really saving
yeah,
the money.
yeah.
For us,
And
SDA,
also then
I
they're not
can't
doing the
interest
same
in
thing. Obviously,
525.
Conleth, lights theatre shows with park hands as well. They're not just for gigs. They work in all sorts of
There's
ways.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different versions of this, and every company is competing to make the better one.
And like anything that you buy, which is essentially integrated technology, once that breaks, there's not much we can do. We've had a few problems with them, Eamon can take them apart, but there's not much we can do in-house. We can pretty much rebuild this from parts and scratch, and these essentially, the entire house stock is as old as the building, and is doing 300 shows a year, and is in relatively good shape, because you're able to, we rivet things and you drill things and it's engineering, made simple. If that goes today, I wouldn't have a clue what to do with it. I'd have to either throw it or bin it or sell it, and they're sold a bit like everything, with a shelf
Shelf
life.
life.
So,
That's about €70 to buy.
well, when it was new, that's old now, but it was newer now. Now there would be 300. To replace a Parkan, you're talking about a Cobb, you know, or
Studio
something.
Cobb comes in about 400.
400.
Well, the
Yeah.
list price is 465.
Anyway, we're kind of getting into too much detail here.
Okay.
I will disagree with Nick on this, because you can buy these with capital funding. You can get capital funding to do that, and then your running costs will drop. What I was talking about is running costs between the electricity bill.
The capital funding
Yeah,
only
but
comes
that's-
around once.
It comes around once in a blue moon.
Yeah,
and
but that's no longer
if
the
you're-
case. You can now, it is now possible to get capital
I
funding.
think this is a conversation for later on.
It is,
Yeah, okay.
it is a
And
conversation
look,
for
just
the-
to finish that then, maybe
Show
talk
and
about, because the issue with LEDs, mainly Conleth, I thought, as far as you were concerned, was colour. So can you talk, like, to do with gels, obviously, but this is red at the moment, that is green.
It was obviously just run through the colours.
This one is only a 3-colour LED, so we can only kind of mix
They're
colours.
all only 3 colour, colour
No, it's
mixes.
4 colours, RGB and white.
Amber.
No, it's just a white.
Can I just say something there while you're looking at the colours?
Go ahead.
Like one of the big issues coming down the track is that if more venues are forced to spend a lot of money to move over to LEDs, and as the guys have said, there's a whole range of different manufacturers of LEDs. Like from a design point of view, if you're trying to take a show that looks consistent from venue to venue to venue, and all these venues are going to be maybe investing in different LED technology, that could become quite difficult, because at the moment you're talking about a similar light source, similar type of bulb, and then you bring your gel with you. So how that's going to work out
Well,
if venues have to spend a lot of money on different types of LEDs?
Well, no, the types of LEDs that are going to replace these are far smaller and fewer. It's the power cans that there's hundreds of them. These is only 2 or 3.
The issue comes when all different venues where they were probably buying for maybe 5 or 6 different options.
It needs to
The
be a
venues.
uniform purchase,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's changing as well. So.
But each brand is bringing out their own LED, and they're all competing to bring out the better one. I don't know the profiles very well, so the new LEDs, so I'm not going to bother talking about it. They usually generally have a RGB 3 primary colour mix, and then you have a warm white and a cold white. The warm white is supposed to correspond with the light source out of this. LEDs by nature give out a cold light, a blue light. I won't get into colour temperature, it's high colour temperature. It's also a debate that's happening very much in environmental and street lighting. You'll see the LEDs are being placed all around the city. The street lights are all being replaced by LEDs. And unbeknownst to the corporation, they were going around putting the wrong ones in. They were putting in high blue ones, and they're now putting in a lower one. And that was quite a big debate, or not here, but around the world. They're being placed by warm coloured LEDs as opposed to cold coloured LEDs. And I can't talk about that, but not now.
Over coffee.
That's kind of it on lighting.
Yeah.